Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk about a little bit of map study and how I approach a new body of water or a lake that I haven't fished in a while, during this kind of transition period between late fall and early winter. So the first thing that we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to look at a map source. So of course my NAVIONICS app on my iPad is my number one when I'm scouting at home, and then if I'm actually on the lake, I'll be using my NAVIONICS Platinum card in probably my Lowrance. That's the one I generally use the most. But let's look at a lake that I don't want people to get mad at me for, showing, specific spots on Lake Chickamauga. People get a little bit touchy, so we're not going to talk about Lake Chickamauga, but we're going to talk about a lake that I haven't been to before. So I don't know if the areas that I'm pointing out on this particular lake are actually juicy or not. That really just depends on the area. Some of these spots probably don't produce as much as others, but this is the basic template for how I select an area. And so of course you're gonna have to put the actual work in and check these different areas, and some are gonna be absolutely money and some of them are gonna be dead. So let's dive right into it. So we're gonna check out J. Percy Priest Lake. Never been there before. I've actually heard quite a bit about Percy Priest. It looks like a pretty standard highland reservoir, deep water. It's got a lot of changing contours, a lot of creeks. So this will fit well with what I'm looking for. So this time of year, the key thing to kind of remember is where the fish and what the fish were doing in the fall. So all the way through October and November, that's the fall, transition period that I'm talking about. So what's happening in the fall is we'll go into this creek right here. So on Percy Priest here, you've got this big major creek back here. This is definitely a major feeder creek. So I'm assuming that fresh cold water was rolling into the back of this after a rain at least. And this is the kind of creek that I'd be looking for. Maybe this area right here, this little offshoot, this creek will probably produce. But even some of the smaller creeks that just have, dry creeks in them where they are only producing water during a rain, those all can be pretty productive. But essentially, during the fall, the shad are going to make their migrations into the backs of these creeks for a variety of reasons. That's where the food's at. The temperature is right in their favorite range, whatever it may be. The shad are back there, and so the bass are back there too. And during the fall, I'm fishing, kind of these flats and just the backs of these creeks, and catching fish that way, up shallow. But as things start getting colder, which right now we finally got quite a few, 20-degree days, or in that range, below freezing, we'll say, at night, and then kind of mid-40s highs for the highs of the day. And so those type of temperatures really start affecting the water temperatures, and those shad that were up shallow and those bass that were up shallow start pulling into deeper water. Another thing you got to remember is that this time of year you start getting more drawdowns. So you get the winter drawdowns. So depending on the lake, some lakes like a Cherokee or Douglas, they'll draw down 35-40 feet. Lake Chickamauga, relative to the other TVA lakes, actually gets drawn down quite a bit. We're about 7 foot, and Watts Bar, I think, is similar to that. Gunnersville is way less of a drawdown, maybe a foot, maybe. It doesn't fluctuate that much. So depending on the lake, if you have a major drawdown, this applies for sure. This pattern gets accelerated. So again, fishing shallow in the backs of the creeks during the fall, but then as the water drops or the water temperature drops, the thing that I look for on my NAVIONICS maps are those steeper banks that are closest to those shallow fall areas. So those areas where the creek channel, right here we've got the creek channel, it kind of comes in and hits that shoreline, okay? That means that, and you can see the contours are much closer here than they are like over here. And so that denotes a steeper bank, probably a lot of bluff. There's also probably a lot more rock because the shoreline has been eroded, exposing that rock. So you've probably got a big chunk rock, bluffy wall there, and that is one of the first areas in this creek that those fish are likely to kind of, you know, start wintering in, you know, start pulling into. So that first shoreline that offers deeper water is where those fish are going to start congregating. And places like this, man, perfect for, you know, just hopping a finesse jig or throwing a jerk bait against it, maybe slower on a spinner bait. Alabama rig, that's going to be a perfect option if you throw Alabama rigs. I don't throw them that much, but you know, those type of banks are going to be money this time of year, and they might even winter in them depending on how deep it is and how suitable the water temperature and the water quality is throughout the season. They might stay all winter long in here. The only problem is those first deeper banks, sometimes you get when you get the big rains, you know, early spring when it's still really cold, but you get those big rains, a lot of these first, you know, creek channel bends will be covered up in like chocolate milk, you know, muddy water. So it just depends on the quality of the water throughout the winter months. But those are the sort of things that I really look for. You know, another area that I'm kind of, you know, looking at right here, there's actually a couple. You've got this this island right here. You know, this creek channel butts up right against that island. So right here would be a likely spot. Over here, the creek channel also kind of butts up against it. Of course, you know, fishing these points can be very good, things like that. But really, the biggest key, no matter what lake you're fishing, is finding the closest deeper water area that is close to where they were in the previous, you know, seasonal pattern, and then, you know, just bouncing around until you find the right banks, those right structures that are holding the fish. So that's how I use my NAVIONICS app to find fish during December and really January, February, March. Once you understand what you're looking for and you can kind of pattern those areas around the lake, you can be very efficient with finding the most juicy stretches, you know, because, and again, you know, since you're eliminating water with your mapping, you can take the time to slow down with something like a football jig or a, you know, a finesse jig or a slow moving bait and get the maximum amount of bites. So anyways, guys, that's how I approach a lake during this time of year. So let me know what you think of my approach to finding fish this time of year. Drop a comment below, and if you have any questions at all on this topic or others, of course, drop a comment below too. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and also make sure you check out bassboatelectronics.com. They've got the NAVIONICS cards that you need on their website right now. So thank you guys for watching. See ya.